Greetings, listeners of the West Regional Station of the Cameroon Radio Television. Thank you so much for finding out time to listen to your favorite youth magazine program, Talent Tracer. I am Kelvin Nembo, your host. Today I have as guest a young, multi-talented Cameroonian who is very passionate about community service. A youth who is out to drive change in her immediate environment. Her name is Ako Confidence. She is a medical lab science student from the University of Bamenda. Ako, thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
My pleasure, Kevin.
So, Ako, tell us, you are in Bafoussam. How are you feeling?
Well, I'm feeling okay.
You can only be okay because Bafoussam is in Cameroon, and it is very important for all Cameroonians to feel at home wherever they find themselves. Now, Ako, can you briefly present yourself to our listeners? Who is Ako Confidence?
I am a third-year medical laboratory science student in the Faculty of Health Sciences, the University of Bamenda, and I hail from the Northwest region, Esimbi in particular, and I come from a family of 4. I have 3 sisters and a younger brother, and my parents are very much alive.
Ako wants to know more about your educational journey. Let's begin with primary school.
Well, talking about my educational life, in one word I would say it was tough, but here am I. It has not been easy, but I've been managing and it's going well. Talk about my primary school. I've been to so many schools, so I don't know where I'll start from. I grew up in Donga Mountain Division, precisely in Du. And so back then in Du, I was schooling in the Cameroon Baptist Theological Seminary Primary School, Group 2. And so I think from child care, then primary 1 to 4 in Du, and then from primary 4 to 6, I now came to Cameroon Baptist Convention Center. I wrote my first school leaving certificate in class 5. So the teachers saw that maybe I was too brilliant, I don't know, but I wrote my first school in class 5, and then I enrolled in a government bilingual high school center from 1 to 3. Later on, I left. You might be asking why I've been changing schools. My dad is a pastor, and the nature of his work permits us to move around as if we are headers.
I move around preaching the gospel.
Yeah, which is good. So that's the reason why I've been naming schools here and there, here and there. And later on, we transferred to town, to Bamenda city, and then I was in Form 4 in Government Bilingual High School downtown, Form 4 and Form 5. Unfortunately, in 2016, the crisis started. Yeah, the crisis started when I was in Form 5, and it was just first term. And my parents, they panicked a lot, and they thought maybe all hell loose, and so they had to display us from town to the village, hoping that everything would come back to normalcy. And so when we left, I think we stayed 2 years out. That includes my other siblings. We stayed 2 years out. And so the second year, I had to fight. Like, let me say I fought for my rights. I wanted to go to school. And so I came back in 2018 and I wrote my GC 2018-2019, my GC O levels at the Government Bilingual High School, Bamenda, Tamulung. At that level, I had 22 points. And I believe that if I was well informed, if I was given orientation, and if I was well placed, I would have done more. When my father saw it was my results that actually opened the eyes to see that, okay, so these people are going to school, children are going to school, and results are coming out. And so I'm proud to say that I was actually the push that my parents needed for my other younger ones and even my elder sister to come back to school. And so when the results were out in 2019, my parents decided that, okay, we'll come back to school, all of us. And then they were still skeptical about the town, and so they decided that we'll be schooling out of Bamenda. But unfortunately, we went. I came to Buda. I thought we were coming to Buda, to town, to the city, but I ended up finding myself in Galim. I don't know if you know of.
I know
in Galim, the subdivision.
In Bambutu's division.
Yeah. So I when lower seat, upper seat, I was in government bilingual high school Galim, lycée bilingue de Galim, and it wasn't easy as well because the IDPs in quotes were suffering because during all this period when the strike started, my father was really not
stable.
Yeah, he wasn't really stable, and so we're all living as IDPs, but we're trying. Because one thing that I know and I'll vouch for is that my father has taken upon himself that, okay, if we want to go to school, he will even carry fees just for us to go to school. I had my advanced level in 2021.
I see how passionate your father is when it comes to ensuring that his children actually have the best of education, which is one of the most important fundamental human rights. When you see the input, how determined your father is for you to succeed, is it sort of a push? Does it encourage you to study harder in order not to fail him?
I can say that my father has been my number one fan. Like, he has been there waving the flag, hoping that one day I'll make him proud. And I'll say yes, he is the push that I need. He has been pushing me hard. He has been encouraging me.
Yeah, you talk a lot about your father.
Yeah.
All this while, where is your mother?
Okay, you can say I'm a daddy's girl, but my mom too, she has been at the background, with her husband. Supporting.
Your father is in front.
Yeah, I'm just talking because I really share a good relationship with my dad, so that's it. And for him being a pastor, it's just like, let me say, his field, his domain, so he's good at giving advice and all the like. So he's actually the push that I need to succeed. I had 11 points in the advanced level, and up to a point I thought of rewriting, but in the end I saw that it wasn't really necessary because I could still do something with those points. And so it wasn't easy because I had a crisis when I was in a lower seat and up seat. Like, I had visual problems, and I was down health-wise, and the environment itself.
Everything was
new. It wasn't really easy. And then the school too. Because at that time, it's a government school, but they were really not considerate about the Anglophone section because I think back then it was just about the Francophone section because it's just the crisis that brought us to that place. And so they were still trying to strategize, and so we're kind of like in the process. So many things were not working well. Teachers, especially in the science background, they were really not given what we needed. And so we had to push ourselves. We had to amongst our friends, so it wasn't easy, but at the end of the day we made it out.
And that's the most important, that the success becomes even sweeter when you achieve it, after going through a very tough process.
That's it.
Now let's talk a little bit about your transition, given that you are presently a medical lab science student at the University of Bamenda. How did it happen?
I always have stories to tell. So when I had the advanced level, everybody growing up, I want to be a medical doctor.
Wait, Ako, before you continue, can you even recall your age so that our listeners can know how old you are?
I'm 22 years old. Like I was saying, everyone has the passion. I wanted to be a medical doctor, and just after the advanced level, your head is still hot, you're still fresh from the advanced level, and you want to make it. So I wrote the national exams, the medical exams, and behold, I failed in flying colors. Like, I really failed, and I felt bad. And the reaction that I gave was like I was just laughing because it's this kind of thing that you've never failed as a student. Like, you've never, even a test, even a subject, you never failed. And then you just get over money, you write an exams, people know that you've written this, you are going to ace it, and then you just fail. And at that point, there was nothing like plan B. Like, I just knew that I was going to become a medical doctor. And so after that, I came back to the house and I was just there. I remember my class master in Upsit, Mr. Chuja Stefan. He called me and he was like, Ako, what are you doing? Your mates are going to school. I told him that I'm not going to school. I'm not going to any faculty. That I would rather stay at home and, wait for the following year. But now he encouraged me that, okay, I shouldn't stay at home because they always say, idle minds are the devil's workshop. So when he said that, I started complaining. There's no money. There is this, admissions into Yuba have closed. He told me that, okay, University of Chang is still open. I began saying that I don't have money to go and start renting and all the like. And then he said, you come and stay in my family house. When someone gives you all the choices, and then I really had no option, I accepted. So I left and I started in the University of Chang. I was in biochemistry back then, biochemistry. And it wasn't easy. I would leave the house 5 a.m. I'm going to school, the amphi is full. I feel like I'm not here, I don't belong here. And so it was not going. just the first semester, I just called my dad one day and told him that I'm coming back to the house on Sunday. And he was like, maybe, I don't know, he was thinking I was coming for weekend. And they just saw me one morning with my bags.
You had already packed?
I had already packed then. And I came back home. I wasn't meant to be there. And when I came back, I was angry at myself, angry at everything, and I left. I went to Douala. One of my aunts had to call me. We are not related by blood. She's like my mentor.
Yeah.
So she's a medical doctor. Back then she was in UK. That was, I think, 2021, 2022. She came to Cameroon in January. She was like, Comfy, I know that you're not in school. What are you doing at the moment? If you're not doing something, I've come to Yaoundé and do long-term preparatory classes to write the upcoming concours. I came there and I did preparatory classes and I wrote the concours. I wrote medicine and I wrote medical laboratory science. Results were out and I failed medicine again. Like I failed again. And then I passed medical laboratory science. That is how I ended up being in the medical laboratory science field. And so, she has been my driving force and I applaud her for that.
Ako, I think we have been talking a lot about your education, and I think we are going to have a little pause so that you can have a glass of water, and equally our listeners as well, so that when we come back, we shall try to find out from you to know more about your contributions to nation building. Welcome back. If you are just tuning in, this is your favorite youth magazine program, Talent Tracer, and we are broadcasting live on the West Regional Station of the Cameroon Radio Television here in Bafoussam. And on today's edition, we have as guest a young Cameroonian by name Ako Confidence. She is a medical lab science student at the University of Bamenda. Ako, you live in a community, and living in a community, you have to contribute in one way or the other to the development of that community, by extension, your country and the world as a whole. Off the record, you told me you volunteer for so many non-governmental organizations. Can you just tell us how your volunteerism journey has been like? What actually even encouraged you to embrace voluntary work?
I used to think that volunteerism is very irrelevant. Back then, when I was in level 1 in the faculty there in Yuba, our present Medical Students Association president, Akwanga Elijah, I remember he came to our hall and he was talking about hepatitis B because he was volunteering for a community vision group. We were not giving him a listening ear, and I remember I was one of them. I was feeling like he's disturbing, he's taking up our space and all the like, and so I did not have the spirit of volunteerism, although I was doing that unknowingly, because I remember first semester in level 1, I took part in a education sensitization campaign back in my village in Esimbi. We're sensitizing youths in our rural community about studies, and we're even teaching them on some various subjects because they were lacking in several subjects. For me, it was like you just see something and then you jump into it, but I didn't know that it was actually something that I was passionate about, because I've been doing that. I'm good at, like, I'll just see young people, I encourage them, I tell them what I want to do, and if they have challenges, maybe making some life-changing decisions, they can always come to me. So, like I said, I was seeing volunteerism as very irrelevant, but now you can say that I'm born again. Back in August, I have a mentor. He's an engineer Ngo Kelson Chinda. He's based in Boyade. So he's the one that actually opened my eyes to this. The reason I got to him was that I'm first of all from an average background. I don't know where I would be headed to after the degree program, and so I was making choices like scholarships, maybe enrolling into the masters, or maybe volunteering for some time and then working, or in fact it's just something every student will think about. And so it's that aspect of scholarship that he came to me and he was like, have you ever thought of volunteerism? Do you know that when you want to go in for scholarships, there's some...
Yeah, you need a good track record to show that you have been active in your community.
It was like, this volunteering thing is actually serious. So, meaning that if they were saying that I already have a degree, then I'm already off the table. Aside from the scholarship, he like gave me reasons why I have to volunteer, why I have to give back to my community. And it's something everybody should do. Actually, it's an obligation. When I caught that, for me, I just need a push, and that was the push that I needed to start this. And so during that time, I was on internship. I had so many things on my mind, but I had to, like I always say, that I don't start what I won't continue. And so if I start with something, I want to see where it ends. And so it hasn't been easy being a volunteer for this past month. I'm just a newbie to this, but I think I'm actually doing great. And there are setbacks. There are my benefits. There are days that I feel like giving up. There are days that I feel like, okay, let's go again. And setbacks like what? At first, when I started, I didn't have opportunities. I'm inexperienced. You want to volunteer for an organization, they want to see how experienced you are. I'll be like, you want to see experience, then how will I get the experience if you don't give me the chance? And so, but I feel up to now, I have the right connections to some extent that I can vouch that I am good to go. And then also time. I was on internship, school, and then in fact, everything was just coming up at once. And so it was difficult volunteering. At some point, they were looking at me in the hospital as if I'm mad, because I'll be heading out. Maybe I'll rush to the toilet to go and attend a workshop that maybe I had registered for, or I'll be attending a seminar, and so it was really difficult. And then also my friends were disappointing me. Like lately, you can see I volunteered for QS Impact on crackdown plastic pollution. There was a friend of mine that I always be calling his name. He was like, when I posted on my handles, he was like, Comfy, you don't start work at pink na paper then na container then nano. Like he was actually like looking at me as if I'm crazy. Yeah. And I had to sit down, explain to him, and he was still like, I felt like he didn't still get it. But at the end of the day, like, who cares? you're doing what you like. You know that the community likes it, because actually when we're picking those plastics, there were people that really passed and stood. They were actually appreciating us, and I felt like, okay, someone is seeing what I'm doing, someone appreciates, someone sees. And so that's just how volunteerism looks like, or it feels like.
And now talking about contributing to ensuring an eco-friendly environment, of late in Cameroon, so many regions where we didn't experience, or in the past, it was almost impossible to even have an idea that one day those regions could experience natural disasters like floods. Today is a reality. Like, it happened in the north recently, and even not far from us here, somewhere in the Menwa division, there was landslide because of torrential rains. So we are more than ever feeling the negative impacts of climate change, and it therefore means that it is crucial for everybody, that's through a collective action, to see how they can fight against this climate change. What you are saying is that young people have a key role to play because you are against plastic pollution. So what message do you have for young people like you who are listening on the fight against plastic pollution? What attitude should they have?
It boils down to community service. Community service here does not necessarily mean volunteerism. If you know that, okay, if I buy a bottle of water and I drink, and you know that normally if we come to your homes, it's clean, and if you feel that dropping this bottle here will litter the environment, you have that consciousness. Anytime you drink water, you have that consciousness that, okay, you have to keep this container, you have to dispose it in the right way. You don't have to litter I move around, you just see young people in a taxi, it may be whatsoever, you just grab it and you throw it over the window. And they feel like, okay, those that are working in the council, like the cleaners, that's their job. And then at the end of the day, we keep blaming the government, that is, the government has done this, the government has done that, the government has done this. First of all, there is employment even in this plastic that we talk about. Why not instead catch that vision? When I discovered that these pavement bricks are made out of plastics.
Yeah, there's some floor tiles now that mix with sand and plastics.
It was there that I even saw it, like I was really surprised. I felt like I was on another planet, but that's just it. People are making a living out of this.
So they can make cash from the trash.
Yes. We should reduce our rate of plastic pollution, and if we are reducing this, we should be very conscious. It starts from an individual level before even going to the community, because normally if individuals educate themselves, the community at large should be fine, because we are the community. And so let's learn from the attitude that we have to start from somewhere. We don't blame, we are even the government, right? The government is not one person. We are the government. And so if you want to have a better community, if you want to see the change with so much desire, then we should be the change.
Young people spend a lot of time on the internet. There are so many platforms. You have TikTok, you have Facebook, you have WhatsApp. They spend so much time on it. Is it same with you? And if no, how do you manage to survive in this environment where you have these tons of information, videos, left and right?
I used to be that. Like, I had my TikTok app. TikTok is so addictive that when you go on TikTok, I mean, if you're not really someone that is purpose driven, that has something to do, because relaxation actually isn't a bad thing. You should relax. You shouldn't be too serious more than the country. But now, it all depends on what you're doing, because if you spend 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours on the phone doing nothing, then you're actually not growing. I've occupied myself so much so that sometimes I don't even have time for my phone. Like, even replying group messages, group chats is sometimes difficult. Like, I'll just come and replying to those that text and all the like. So it's just finding your niche, knowing what you want, and then you go for it. You are not a jack of all trades. You can't be doing TikTok and then you're attending seminars. It doesn't work. Like, it won't work. I had TikTok. I removed it. For me, back then, it was due to space problems in my phone. But I believe up to now, I would have removed that app for my phone because it was taking much of my time. Like, it's not a healthy habit spending your time on the phone.
Online, you are present on Facebook.
Yeah.
How do you make the best out of it?
I post what I do on Facebook. I'm a volunteer. And so in order to create awareness, I always try to keep my followers, my friends updated. Like, anything I do, any seminar I attend, any workshop, I always try to upload. So that's what you see on my handles. You will not come and hear happy birthday, today we went to church, this happened, this my friend did this. This is very, very so unnecessary.
The platforms are important, but it depends on how you use them.
Yes.
Ako, is there any last message you have for our listeners who are young as you are, most of them? Because that's the aim of this program, that through your story, you should be able to inspire those who are listening to us.
The take-home message I will have for those that are listening, your thoughts, what you think, it births the outcome. Like the outcomes we get is because it comes from our thoughts. Also, growing will cost you, but not growing will cost you more. Growing will cost you. What does that mean? It will cost your time, your finances, your energy. It will cost you so much so that so much so that you feel like I will give up. But now, not growing will cost you more because you'll be stagnant. You will not grow. You end up blaming. You end up saying, if my father had, you would have been well placed. Because sometimes I always ask my dad that, okay, if my father was actually rich, maybe I wouldn't be struggling to get my school fees. I wouldn't be struggling maybe to find clothing. But that's what makes us. If you don't grow, even those that they were born with a silver spoon, if they don't work hard, if they don't fight for themselves, at the end of the day, they will be very loose. And so what I got from me is that what I have to grow. And in growing, I have to grow in my finances, in my head. Because growing starts from what comes from your head, how you think, how you feel from the mind. Yeah, so that's it. Never you settle for less, because if you're comfortable where you are, then you're not growing.
As they say, change is the only constant. Don't stay in your comfort zone. Keep on moving to be a better version of yourself on a daily basis. Dear listeners, thank you so much for your time. We had as guests a medical lab science student, Ako Confidence from the University of Bamenda. Do stay tuned for more interesting programs on your number one radio station. I have been Kelvin Nem, your host. Ako, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Kevin, for the opportunity you've given to me.
Thank you, it's my pleasure. Do stay tuned for more interesting programs on your number one radio station, CRTV Bafusam. Until we meet again, same time, same station. Bye bye.